Spring in Washington, D.C. always held a magnificent beauty, especially when the cherry blossoms burst open, painting the sky pink. But for Dr. Ava Vance, that beauty seemed only to amplify the gnawing pain in her soul. 10 years of marriage had ended with a cold divorce paper, and the reason given was she couldn't have children. More bitterly, her ex-husband, James, had quickly found another woman and publicly displayed their relationship, as if to confirm Ava's deficiency. Ava was a renowned university lecturer at Georgetown University, specializing in American literature. She loved her job, loved old books, and lively discussions with students. But since the divorce, everything seemed to lose its color. Her small apartment in old Georgetown, once cozy and filled with books, now felt empty and cold. Every morning, Ava woke up to an invisible void, an unhealing scar. She remembered the early spring days when James and she were still deeply in love. They used to stroll beneath the vibrant cherry blossoms by the tidal basin, where the Washington Monument proudly rose against the brilliant sunset sky. Each pale pink petal fell like tears of happiness. Now, whenever she saw that image, her heart ached. The most ironic thing was that Ava had discovered the painful truth. It wasn't her who was infertile, but James. She had kept this secret, not wanting to hurt a man who had once been everything to her. That silence was a heavy burden, making her feel even more isolated. One late afternoon, after her lecture, Ava wandered through the cobblestone streets of Georgetown. She went to the Georgetown Public Library, a place she often visited to find peace in books. The golden afternoon sun streamed through the large windows, illuminating the towering bookshelves, creating a quiet and warm atmosphere. Ava sat down on a worn armchair, flipping through a classic novel, trying to find solace in every word. At the Georgetown Public Library, there was a man Ava often saw but had never spoken to, Mr. Arthur Peterson, the library manager. Arthur was a middle-aged man, his hair streaked with gray, his deep eyes holding an inexpressible sadness. He always wore neat shirts and tidy ties, moving slowly and calmly among the bookshelves. Arthur loved his library more than anything. For him, it was not just a repository of knowledge, but also a refuge, a place where he found joy and comfort after a family tragedy. His wife, Sarah, had passed away a few years ago from a serious illness. The pain of that loss still lingered deeply in his mind. His children had grown up and had their own lives, but the emptiness in his home was always present. Arthur was secretly wealthy. He inherited a large fortune from his family, but he never flaunted his wealth. Instead, he dedicated his time and passion to the library, transforming it into a cozy and modern space. He regularly organized book readings, literary workshops, and community activities, attracting many people to the library. One day, Arthur saw Ava hunched over a table in a secluded corner of the library. The afternoon sun streamed through the large window, casting light on her lonely figure. He sensed the deep sorrow from her. Although they had never spoken, he recognized her as the university lecturer who frequently visited the library. Arthur approached, gently placing a book on her table. It was an anthology of Emily Dickinson's poetry. "Miss Vance, I think you'll like this one," he said in a warm, deep voice. Ava looked up, her eyes red-rimmed. She was surprised to see Arthur. "Thank you, Mr. Peterson," she whispered. "It seems you're having a not-so-happy day," Arthur said, his voice full of empathy. "This library is sometimes the best place to find peace." Ava nodded. "Yes, I've just been through a difficult period." Arthur didn't ask further. He just smiled gently, then returned to his desk. His subtlety and understanding brought a little warmth to her frozen heart. From that day on, Ava and Arthur began to have more frequent chance encounters. Ava still came to the library every afternoon after work, and Arthur was always there. Sometimes they would just exchange a few polite greetings. Gradually, their conversations became deeper. Arthur often introduced Ava to new books, classic literary works he thought she would love. Ava also shared with him about her lectures, her passion for literature, and her life's worries. They discovered they had more in common than they thought. Both loved books, loved tranquility, and both carried emotional wounds that needed healing. One afternoon, Arthur invited Ava to a poetry reading he was organizing. Ava hesitated at first, but then she agreed. The reading took place in a cozy space in the library with soft yellow lights and comfortable armchairs. Arthur read poems by Robert Frost, his voice deep and evocative, making Ava feel her soul being soothed. After the reading, Arthur invited Ava to stroll in the library grounds. The trees were green and small paths wound through the lush, green lawns. Ava felt an unusual peace walking beside Arthur. He told her about his wife, about their beautiful memories, and about how he had found solace in his work and books. Ava also, for the first time, shared with him about her failed marriage, the pain of betrayal, and the truth about James's infertility. Arthur listened patiently and with understanding. He didn't judge. He didn't offer empty advice. He was simply there, listening and sharing the burden with her. "The pain will pass, Miss Vance," he said softly. "What matters is how we face it and find new light." These conversations were like tonic, helping Ava slowly emerge from her shell of sorrow. She began to realize that she was not alone. There was a man there, ready to listen and share with her. Time passed, and Ava and Arthur became close friends. They often walked together in the green parks of Washington, D.C., admiring the ancient shade trees. Ava felt her soul broaden. She began to notice the simple beauty of life around her. Arthur also gradually opened up to Ava. He invited her to visit his home, an old mansion nestled amidst a lush green garden. Ava was surprised by the architectural beauty and the exquisite interior design of the house. It was not ostentatious, but exuded elegance and warmth. The house had a small, clear swimming pool, reflecting the blue sky, and green trees surrounded it, creating a private and peaceful space. In that house, Ava felt the presence of Sarah, Arthur's deceased wife. Family photos were proudly displayed on bookshelves, and small, though charming decorative items that Sarah had loved were still there. Arthur told Ava about Sarah, about their memories, and about how she had inspired him in his work and life. Ava also had the opportunity to meet Arthur's children, Emily, a talented architect living in New York, and Ben, a young scientist working in California. Both were very fond of Ava. They often visited their father, and family gatherings were always filled with laughter and warmth. Ava felt like a part of that family, a feeling she had lost long ago. In the evenings, Arthur and Ava often cooked together, enjoying simple but cozy meals. Arthur was a talented chef, and Ava loved learning from him. They went to the market together, selected fresh ingredients, and together created flavorful dishes. These moments, seemingly simple, brought Ava immense happiness. She realized that happiness was not extravagant things, but simple moments, warm meals, and sincere conversations. Spring came again, and the cherry blossoms bloomed brightly. This time, Ava no longer felt the gnawing sadness. Instead, she felt a rebirth in her soul. Love had blossomed between her and Arthur, a mature, deep, and understanding love. One morning, Arthur and Ava walked together under the cherry blossoms at the tidal basin. Pale pink petals fluttered onto their shoulders, creating a romantic, fairy tale-like scene. Arthur stopped, turned to look at Ava, his eyes filled with love. "Ava," he said, his voice deep and warm, "I know you've been through a lot of suffering, but I want you to know that you deserve to be loved, to be happy." Ava looked into his eyes, her heart beating fast. "You too, Arthur," she whispered. "You've brought light into my life." Arthur took Ava's hand, gently squeezing it. "Let's write a new chapter together, Ava, a chapter filled with love, peace, and hope." Ava nodded, her eyes welling up. She knew she had found the man of her life, who would go through life's ups and downs with her, heal her emotional wounds, and enjoy the simple beauty of life with her. They continued walking under the cherry blossoms, hand in hand. The petals fell like blessings for their love. Ava no longer worried about the past. She lived only for the present, for the love blooming in her heart, and for the bright future awaiting her. Ava and Arthur's life unfolded peacefully, filled with love and tranquility. However, sometimes the ghosts of the past still lingered. One day, Ava coincidentally met James, her ex-husband, at a coffee shop. James was with his new girlfriend, and they were chatting happily. Ava felt a slight pang in her heart, but she quickly regained her composure. James saw Ava and Arthur. He seemed surprised, then approached. "Ava, long time no see," he said a little awkwardly. Ava smiled gently. "Hi, James. How are you?" James nodded. "I'm good. How about you?" He glanced at Arthur, then asked, This is Arthur, my boyfriend," Ava introduced. "Arthur, this is James." Arthur politely shook James's hand. James seemed a little flustered. He hadn't expected Ava to find happiness so quickly. The conversation was brief and somewhat awkward. After James and his girlfriend left, Ava breathed a sigh of relief. "I didn't think I'd see him again," she told Arthur. Arthur took her hand. "Are you okay?" Ava nodded. "I'm fine. I realize that I don't feel pain anymore. I've forgiven him, and I've found my own happiness." It was a significant moment for Ava. She realized that forgiveness was not about forgetting the pain, but about accepting it and letting go of the burden. She had freed herself from the shackles of the past, and that helped her live more fully in the present. Arthur smiled. "I'm proud of you, Ava." Ava and Arthur decided to move in together into Arthur's mansion. Ava brought her beloved books, and the house became cozier than ever. They decorated the rooms together, turning the house into a true home. Ava continued her teaching job at the university, and Arthur remained dedicated to the library. But now, they had each other to share everything in life. Every morning, they enjoyed breakfast together, talking about their plans for the day. Every evening, they read books, listened to music, or simply sat next to each other, enjoying the peace. They explored new places together, beautiful small towns in the U.S. They hiked in dense forests, admired majestic waterfalls, and enjoyed local cuisine. These trips helped them bond more and create beautiful memories together. Ava also began writing a new book, a novel inspired by her own story. She wanted to share with everyone about her healing journey, about the power of love and forgiveness. Arthur was her first reader, and he always offered sincere advice and encouragement. One of their shared dreams was to transform the library into a community cultural center, where people could come to learn, share, and connect. They planned together, sought funding, and organized activities. Ava used her knowledge and experience to organize literary workshops, book clubs, and creative writing classes. Arthur focused on expanding the book collection, upgrading facilities, and attracting more volunteers. With their combined efforts, the library became a favorite destination for local residents. It was not just a place to read books, but also a vibrant space where people could find joy, learning, and connection. Ava and Arthur's life was a testament that love can bloom at any age, and that emotional wounds can be healed with understanding, compassion, and sincere love. One autumn afternoon, Ava and Arthur sat on the porch, watching the maple leaves change color. A gentle breeze blew, carrying the scent of the earth. Ava leaned her head on Arthur's shoulder, feeling peaceful and happy. "Do you remember the first day we met?" Ava whispered. Arthur smiled. "I do. You were hunched over the table, and I thought you were the saddest woman I'd ever seen." Ava chuckled. "And you were the most mysterious man I'd ever met." They looked towards the horizon together, where the sun was slowly setting, painting the sky red. Ava felt grateful for what she had. She had found love, family, and a meaningful life. Ava and Arthur's story is not a romantic fairy tale like in movies, but a story of growth, healing, and the simple beauty of life. It is a reminder that happiness is not a destination, but a journey, and that we can always find light even in the darkest moments. Warm family moments, simple meals, sincere conversations, walks under cherry blossoms. All these things created a full and meaningful life for Ava and Arthur. They had overcome past pains together and built a bright future filled with love and hope. They knew that life would still hold many challenges, but they believed they would overcome everything together because they had each other, and their love was an unshakable force. And so, under the star-filled sky of Washington, D.C., Ava and Arthur continued their journey, a journey filled with love, healing, and the simple beauty of life.